Hello and welcome to Bloomberg Quint. I have with me Stephen Pagliuca, co-chairman of Bain Capital, to talk us through what the investing environment is going to look like in 2017. Thank you very much for speaking with us, Mr. Pagliuca.
It's great to be here in sunny Davos.
Thank you. Let's start by asking you what you think 2017 is going to shape up like in terms of an investing year.
Well, we've obviously had a major presidential transition, an upset win by Donald Trump. And also the Republicans back in the United States. So they are, it's kind of, wait and see, but at least most of the rhetoric now is promoting a pro-business environment, less regulation, I think some much needed tax reforms, and that's been reflected in the stock market. So hopefully that'll hold up for the long term.
The election of President Trump did come in as a shock, I think, to many parts of the world, including in the US. But do you think what he has now pronounced as some of his potential policy measures is taking a little bit of the edge off that shock? Because business leaders here in Davos seem to be very positive about the impact he could have on the economy.
I think the edge is off the shock because you have to understand that the United States really has a lot of checks and balances. And so, as you know, any laws that are passed or any changes that are made have to go through the Senate and the Congress, and even they reconcile different bills. So the U.S. government will move, but they'll move in a slower direction because of those checks and balances. So I think people are looking at that as a positive factor, and certainly the rhetoric coming out of the Trump camp has been they're hiring experienced people and people that really want to look at what are the right policies for the economy. So right now it's kind of wait and see. We don't know what's going to happen, but there has been a measured response to what is going to happen.
So you're saying that his opposition to some aspects of international trade, globalization, his opposition to TPP, those are things that are more words than will translate into action?
My understanding from talking to some of the Trump people is that they are looking at everything and they are trying to take a reasoned and measured response, and they're going to study it. And so we'll see what comes out of it. If I knew the answers to that, I'd probably be on a boat in the Bahamas right now.
Okay. We've had a year of, or we're looking at a year of a stronger dollar potentially, even though President Trump has tweeted against it. I think we've had some comments come in from the Fed yesterday talking about how they hope to counterbalance the economy if there is a big fiscal stimulus. What is that going to mean for fund flows across the world? Do you see more money moving to the US, maybe even the UK, where the growth potential seems to be better, and less to the emerging economies?
Well, first you have to step back. We're kind of at the tail ends of QE2, QE3, all the monetary expansion. That's been unprecedented, happening since 2008 till now.
Right.
And so the Fed has had a difficult job walking back to get to more normalized interest rates. So they slowly raise those. They're monitoring the economy. I think in general the U.S. is a great place to invest because it is stable. It has a great rule of law, and the economy is starting to move forward. So people will look at investing in the U.S. The UK, Brexit fears are still out there. No one knows what's going to happen with that, but that's subsided a little bit as well. So I think it kind of proceed with caution for 2017.
What about emerging economies?
China is still growing, and still the services sector certainly is growing very quickly. We've seen interesting investments there. There's been a lot of restructuring in Japan and companies that are trying to get more efficient and more market oriented. So there's been a lot of private equity activity in Japan. And India has had measured progress under Modi, and hopefully progress more to come.
Okay, when you say measured progress, do you believe that Mr. Modi hasn't lived up to expectations, or are you particularly surprised by what he did on demonetization, or do you just think it's a large ship, it will take a while to turn around?
Countries are hard to turn around overnight, and expectations when people get elected are always higher than they can deliver. That's just the process of democratic elections. But he has made very measured progress. There's the power, the infrastructure, the demonetization. He's talking about sales taxes, getting a more fair and transparent tax regime. So I think that's real progress.
Okay. Promising sectors, industries to invest in. This is something we talk about every time. I know technology is probably number one on your list, but if you can break that down a little bit more for us to give us a sense of where you're putting your money.
Well, again, we really are microeconomists. We look at situation by situation. We have to study each business, and so it's not such a macro approach. But in general, there's been a lot of disruption with technology, robotics, the internet, increased communications, and so that gives us opportunity to come in and transform companies. Our basic philosophy is to be very selective because prices are at the high end of what they've been probably in the last 10 years due to a number of global factors. So we try to size our funds and be selective and look at companies you can really transform and build over a long-term period. The thing I love about private equity is you can take a long-term approach and you can have a plan to build a great company. It's not quarter to quarter or day to day. It's a multi-year plan.
So what has struck you as most exciting or interesting in the investments you've done in the recent past or hope to do in the months
Well,
to
we've
come?
done a very successful string of payments, technology payments
Yes.
investments, starting out with WorldPay back in, I think, 2009 or 10, and followed on with 4 or 5 others that have been successful. We've had a thematic in technology in terms of cybersecurity. So we did a successful investment both with our European fund and our North American fund in Blue Coat, and that company was just recently merged with Symantec to create one of the largest cybersecurity software companies in the world. So that's a growing and interesting area as well.
Okay. I think one final question then. What do you think will be the biggest challenge that business leaders face in 2017? I think some people here in Davos have told me it could potentially be geopolitics. Everybody's watching the Trump-Putin relationship very, very closely, and to see what that means for Europe.
I think for the last couple of years, the issue that we haven't seen since the Cold War are the geopolitics.
Right.
You know, the tensions with Russia, the continued situation in the Middle East, Palestinian, Israel, Syria. All of those, you know, have North Korea. All those have Iran. Probably heightened tensions. Now, hopefully, the world will step back and we'll get negotiated settlements on these things, and we'll make progress. But those could be very disruptive. You also have the situation in Turkey, which has been on edge, you know, since the issues they had there.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Mr. Pagliuca, thank you so much for your time here in Davos, and thank you for speaking to us.
It's great to be here.
Okay,
Thanks again. See you
great.
next year.
Thank you.